Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be discussing the popular books that I did not like, and I'll be discussing 5 of them specifically. These are books that I either did not finish at all, one in particular, and then other ones were ones that I rated 1 or 2 stars and just did not like the book whatsoever. And these are books that are very, very popular. A lot of people rave about it. They're classics essentially, and these are ones that I just did not like whatsoever. So let's just get into the video now. So first and foremost, some disclaimers. These are just my opinions. I understand that this is clearly an unpopular opinions video since I'm literally talking about popular books that I do not like. So one would assume that majority of the people really like these books and love these books. So I'm discussing just my personal opinions on the books that I thought I would have liked and did not love whatsoever. This is also different from overhyped books because overhyped books are ones that I think are overhyped, and I enjoyed the books. I just don't think they're worth the hype that it was given. So this is different than what I would consider as overhyped books. So these are just the 5 books that I really did not like at all for different various reasons. And also they are not in any particular order. They're just 5 books that I managed to compile a list of that I just didn't like. So the first book that I want to talk about is Daughter of Smoke and Bones by Laini Taylor. This is the one book that I did not finish. I think I listened, so first thing first, I listened to this via audiobook, so I'm not sure if that made an impression, which is why when I pick up Stranger Dreamer in the future, I want to read that as a physical copy because it might just be her books are not suited for audiobooks. So perhaps if that's the case, I'll pick up the physical copy if I like Stranger Dreamer. So that being said though, I did not like this book whatsoever. So what exactly is this book about? It's about a girl called Kaoru who has this sketchbook and she fills with creatures who may or may not be real, and she goes off on these mysterious errands, and she kind of is raised by this mysterious group of creatures or beings. This is a fantasy world, by the way. It's fantasy, there's paranormal, there's angels involved. So this supposedly is up my alley, but I just could not get into it. So like I already said, I think I gave this book about an hour and a half via audiobook, and then I just gave it up because I couldn't get into the story, I couldn't get into the characters. It just didn't really flow well for me. I couldn't care less about what was going on, and then or maybe I just wasn't in the right mood for it, I'm not sure, but I really couldn't get into it, and then I just did not finish this book. So I don't even know what happens afterward. I just know like the beginning of the book, and then because I couldn't get into it, this is a book that I just didn't finish. Then the second book that I really did not like at all was Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King. So this book is supposed to be a horror novel, and it's set in the future, but it's very similar to today basically. And for some reason, woman falls asleep and this cocoon thing wraps around them, and if they're waken up by someone else and they're disturbed in that cocoon like state, they become very feral and they will attack whoever woke them up. And while they're sleeping, they're somehow transported to a different world. And so as in the real world, men are basically the only ones left. So that's basically the premise of this book. Oh, and there's also this woman called Evie who is somehow immune and can sleep irregularly. So all the women in the real world who are still awake cannot fall asleep, because once you fall asleep you become wrapped in this cocoon like material. So that's basically the actual premise of the book, and people are wondering if Evie is just some miracle or if she's a demon or what's going on. So first and foremost, one of the main reasons why I didn't like this book was because it's supposed to be a horror novel, a horror/thriller novel, but I did not even think it was scary or any sort of suspense at all for me. I had also listened to this book via audiobook, so that might have played a role, because the way how Stephen King writes is that he tends to not really have very clear distinction when another character's POV shows up, and this book had a lot of different character POVs. So while listening to audiobook, it is so easy for one to just get confused with who's who, what are they talking about, and the fact that they're just, you know, the real world and then this other fantasy dream-like world as well, and he kept flipping between the 2 worlds, and it was never very clear when was what, or when was where, or what exactly was going on, or who was talking. So it was just all very confusing on my end. So overall, for Sleeping Beauties, I just couldn't really get it. I was expecting a horror novel. That was not the case at all. I was confused half the time because there are too many characters, first of all, and second of all, it was never very clear who was who and what was going on half the time. So that was very, very confusing. And third of all, I was just not very interested in the ending. The ending just so disappointed me because I was expecting something very obvious, or not very obvious, but something more clear cut, but that wasn't the case at all. So overall, I did not like this book at the end of the day. Then the third book, which I know is one that I'm sure a lot of people would be like, what? You didn't like this book? And that is Turtles All the Way Down. I actually did a whole video review on this, so I will link that above in case you want to check that out. But I did not like this book whatsoever. And honestly, I'm very surprised because I really like John Green's novel, and this one just really, really disappointed me. So basically, this book is about a girl called Aza who decides to pursue this mystery of a missing billionaire who happens to be the father of a friend of hers that she hasn't talked to or seen for quite some time, and she decides to pursue this mystery with her best friend Daisy. And the book just goes through the progress of her as she tries to be a good friend to her, tries to pursue this mystery, be a good investigator, etc. So the main reason why I didn't like this book was because I was honestly expecting more of a mystery, either a murder mystery or some sort of kidnapping mystery going on, but that wasn't the case at all. As I stated in my video review, I think there was just about 20% that was actually focused on this mystery, and the rest was all about Aza and her internal thoughts. I also couldn't relate with the main character Aza at all. I couldn't relate with the fact that she kept dealing with this internal spirals and she kept talking about it and talking about it, and honestly for me, I just got really frustrated because I just wanted to move on to the next part in the book. But rather than that, she just kept talking about her internal thoughts, and it just was a downward spiral, to be honest. And because the book focused so much on Aza and her internal thoughts as opposed to the mystery, when at the end the mystery was solved, at that point it didn't even seem really important at all, and it just kind of ended really abruptly and very, very awkwardly for my taste. Especially because it didn't even seem to matter at that point anymore. But the one thing that I will say for this book though is that I actually really did enjoy the friendship between her and Daisy. I really, really enjoyed that aspect. But as a John Green novel overall, this book just did not do it for me. So the fourth popular book that I did not like at all was The Shining by Stephen King. As you can clearly tell, this is the second novel by Stephen King that's on this list. So at this point, I don't think his writing style is really for me, because this is also the second book from him that I've read. So I've only read two and they're both on this list. So that kind of says something right there. So this book essentially follows a little boy called Danny Torrance and his family. He's 5 years old, somehow has his unique abilities, he's very special, and his father becomes the new caretaker to this hotel that is very isolated, especially during the winter time. So in the winter time, they literally cannot get out to the nearest town because it's quite far, and because of the winter and the weather, it's just impossible for them to get there. So they're essentially isolated on this mountain for the entire winter. And this hotel has a very, very bad history in terms of the previous caretakers and what happens during winter time. And so this whole book just centers around Danny and his family in this hotel during winter, where there's no one else around and things become very, very sinister. So that's the premise of this book. It made it into a movie. It's a huge classic favorite for a lot of people, but end of the day, I did not like this book at all. So on my end, at least I gave this book a physical copy try. So I read this book as a physical copy and I read the other one as an audiobook. So based on both experiences, I can clearly say that his writing style is not for me. It's way too erratic for my taste. From what I can tell, he tends to provide an excessive amount of details that just aren't really necessary. And then he also likes to jump from perspective to perspective without it being very clear as to who was who. So I still have the same problem with Sleeping Beauties, in The Shining but in a physical copy form. So with that being said, it was still kind of confusing for me. But the one thing that I will say for this book that I did not say for Sleeping Beauties is that I definitely did feel like this was more of a horror novel. I read this for a classic horror novel fiction, and this one definitely did the job because I felt very creeped out in certain scenes by various weird things that was going on and entities. So in terms of horror, this one definitely got thumbs up for me, but everything else though did not like at all. So clearly, as you can tell here, I don't think I will give Stephen King another try at this point because two out of two books, that's a lot. That never really happens to me, especially with an author who's just so big, but I really just don't like his books. So both his books are very popular, and both of them were ones I just did not like. The last and final book that I did not like at all was Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This one actually came out relatively recently, and this was a young adult fiction. So this book follows a girl called Elin who was raised to be a warrior for Asuka clansmen, and there's a very deep ancient rivalry with the Riki clan. So her life is very simple but very brutal. It's basically just fight and survive, until one day she spies her brother fighting along the Riki clan, and she's betrayed and captured by the clan and is forced to live in the winter with a clan that she grew up hating and despising her entire life. And then one day the Riki clan is raided by another clan that is supposed to be a legend, and then now she has to deal with trying to figure out a way to unite her clansmen with the Riki clan and somehow forge a unity to go against this legend clan. So that's essentially what the book's about, but I was very, very disappointed. I rated this book a 1 star because that's how much I hated this book. For me, the one thing that I really liked about it is the cover. The cover is freaking gorgeous, but other than that, I was very disappointed. I went in with a lot of expectations because a lot of people were raving about it, and they still are raving about it. Even to this day, I see a lot of posts about it and everyone's talking about how they love this book and everything, but I thought the execution for the book was very dry and very lacking. Plus, honestly, I think the synopsis was very misleading because the way how they describe the book on Goodreads and everywhere else is that this clan, this legend clan, is thought to be a legend, which means no one really believed that they exist. But that is not the case at all, because straight off the beginning, in the beginning of the book, you already know that this legend clan is a clan that they very much know exists, and well, at least Elin knows it exists and her clansman knows that it exists. So they very much know that they are very real and they are a real threat to, you know, the clans in general. So the whole premise is already completely misleading straight off the bat. I also found that there was very little character development because Elin in the beginning is already very strong. You know, she's very steadfast and she continues to be that way the entire time. So there was really no character development whatsoever on my end, and the world building was also very, very subpar. But there was a lot of action. That's the one thing, other than the gorgeous cover, they had a lot of action. So if you're just looking for a very action-packed book and you don't care about the characters, you don't care about the other plot, then maybe this book is okay. But for me, I was looking for the whole thing, and the only thing that really stood out to me was the action. And last but not least, the one thing that really did not work out for me was the romance. As a YA novel, I expected there to be a romance because there usually is romance in YA novels. But in this case, for this book, it did not work at all. And I'm not going to go into details about it because I really don't want to spoil anything major. But the romance in this book just made it seem really, really awkward and not really necessary. So anyways, those are the 5 popular books that I know a lot of people talked about, have raved about it either in the past or in the present. But these are books that I did not like at all. I either, like I said already, I did not finish one of them. I gave 1 stars to some of them, 2 stars if I was feeling generous at the time, but these are books that I really, really did not like. But anyways, that's all I have to say for the 5 popular books that I really did not like. Let me know in the comments below. I know most of you guys obviously love these books or really, really like these books, but for those who did not, let me know in the comments below. That way I don't feel alone in my opinions here. But that's all I have to say for this video. If you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's it for today, guys. Thank you. Bye.